Hello everyone, it's Mayor Schneider here with our Public Works Director Lou Jearls. Between the two of us, we have almost 80 years of experience with the City of Florissant.
They're getting their money's worth.
We got some experience. Lou joined us in 1981, I believe.
Yes.
And, I was hired by Mayor Egan in '76 and then took a couple years off and then was elected to the City Council in '79. So you've been here almost the whole time that I've been on the City Council, almost.
Yeah.
We're at the end of Public Works Week, which is like the second last week in May. They always put it on the eve of Memorial Day so that the engineers can be thinking more about the 3-day weekend than the Public Works Week, I guess. But Public Works is a very, very important aspect of the city challenge that we have. Of course, our number one priority is always going to be law enforcement. Police protection is always going to be every community's number one priority. But our number 2, 3, and 4 priorities a lot of times have to do with public works. And right now I would say our second priority in the city is code enforcement,
Yes.
which falls under Lou Jearls' purview. And then streets is right behind that, and health, public health department, and with pest control and animal control. So there's just a lot of very, very important things that are on your plate, Lou. And tell us how you've been able to deal with it for so long.
Well, the one thing is be able to hire good people like you've hired. You know, I'm working on hiring good people is always key. And so yeah, it's just a constant struggle, but serving the public's been very rewarding.
Lou's been also very good at trying to keep two parts of the city government, 2 branches of the city government happy, trying to keep Mayor Egan happy, and trying to keep the then council happy that I was on, or Mayor Lowry happy and the council, or now me happy and the city council that we have now, without ruffling anybody's feathers. That's a pretty tough job. Tell us how you're able to do that.
Too much, yeah, a lot of prayers there. That's a tough one. Yeah, everybody's got a different personality, and there's always different politics depending on the full moon of the month. So.
But in almost 40 years, I think we've only snapped at each other once.
Yeah, we had one moment, so that wasn't too bad.
And that was over dogs.
Yeah.
Which sometimes is the most frustrating thing, is we're in a society that really loves their pets.
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes they love their pets more than their
family members. Yeah, they put them in the will. They got a nice cemetery here in town. It's got better gravestones than most people. We're getting ready to start our street repair season. We've already started. We've got a big project on Kevin, and that's our first Proposition S Yes.
project. Tell us, Proposition S, street work as promised. The citizens were thoughtful enough to give us the resources that we need to maintain our streets for years to come. And we promised them that we would do more than just maintain them, that we'd try to make some progress in reclaiming curbs. So tell us about the Kevin Lane project.
Well, the Kevin Lane was our first, as you mentioned, our first Prop S project. It's a pretty long project. It was about a $385,000 project. We took out all the old curbs and gutters. We put in all brand new curbs and gutters. We replaced a lot of the deteriorated concrete slabs underneath, and then we came back with an asphalt overlay. So I'll tell you, if anybody lives over near Kevin or want to see how streets should look in the city, it's really turned out to be a nice development. But yeah, back in 2015, the voters gave us, like you say, the resources to really maintain streets. And this year is the first year that we're going to see the results of that money coming in. So we're going to have over $3 million worth of street work throughout the city.
Now, since Kevin is only like a stone's throw from where Councilman Egan lives, should I be suspicious about something going on there?
No relation to the other guy, the former. No, it was, and people don't realize that if you do, you don't. We rate our streets every year. We have a rating system, and the council's been very, very good, and the mayor's been very good about letting me pick the streets that need the money the most. And that was up. That street was just up, so that's what we did.
Regardless of which councilman ward it's in, it's a merit system?
That's right. That's right.
Tell us a little bit more about how that grading system works. You have your city engineer and your street superintendent. They sort of rate the streets on a bunch of different categories.
Yes, I mean, we look at ponding, we look at all the curbs and gutters, we look at all the joints, whether they're starting to ravel and come undone. The flow of some of the concrete slabs start to settle out and you get a real rough ride. Usually when we start spending a lot of money on a street, that's when it's time to do something. And we've got some that have been asphalt overlaid and slurry sealed time and time again, no curbs and gutters. In the past, our main priority was the driving surface itself, but now we're going to be able to start addressing those curb issues.
We were having a little bit of trouble trying to keep up with the maintenance schedule that would keep our roads indefinitely in very good shape. And now that the voters have passed Proposition S, I think it's our feeling that the city should be able to have resources to. We're not going to have brand new paved streets in the whole city, but we're going to have very, very good streets, which we've always had, and be able to continue.
Right,
doing
they're
that.
going to look a lot nicer. And like I mentioned, we're going to be doing work on probably over 175 different streets throughout the city, and we've got 14 streets that we're going to do major improvements on, much like Kevin. So people are, this year they're going to see a lot of street work. Besides the two that St. Louis County has going, one on Shackelford, which is a $7.6 million, and then the one on Washington, which is about a $1 million project. There's going to be a lot of street work in the city.
Yeah, we are very fortunate in getting our share of resources from other agencies. Let's expand on St. Louis County's work. The work on Hattershell is very extensive.
Yes, yes. Yeah, they're going to have to tear up a lot of streets. You got to do a lot of utility type work, do a lot of concrete replacement work, new sewer lines, new MSD, trying to get some MSD, better drainage in the area for flood control. And then just get better flow of the traffic coming through there. Right now, I think if anybody lives up, it's like a roller coaster ride going through there. It's really in bad shape.
And the EPA requires them to have retention now.
Yes, yes. Anytime you do any type of major street work, you try and retain your water so that it helps. Again, it gets into the storm sewer lines, and that'll affect the residents. So nowadays, you have retention, and that's any commercial development around town. So they have these rain gardens, and that retains water, and that helps with the flooding issues.
But no roundabouts.
Well, they thought about it.
I know.
I'm still not against roundabouts. I kind of like them.
Yeah, I just traveled to Scotland. My ancestors came from Scotland, and almost every intersection out in the countryside in Scotland is a roundabout.
And it keeps
Almost
traffic
everyone.
moving. You don't have to stop at 2:30 in the morning. You just keep going.
You do, yeah. And then Washington Street has been, we delayed it. We delayed Washington
we
Street
did.
because they wanted to start right before the Valley of Flowers.
Yeah, we hated to delay that because that street is such terrible shape. We've been bugging St. Louis County for years, and finally.
They finally wanted to do it like a month before Valley of Flowers and tear it
Yeah,
up.
can we come in? No, you can't come in. Well, what are you talking about? Yeah, no, it's.
But it's going now.
We made a deal with them, and they're going. They're really hitting it hard. They're doing a good job. There's no slack time over there at all. So
we let them use a piece of property, a city property, for a mount-out area.
right, just for staging, and that'll be temporary.
I'm going to skip over this one here. Let's go to mosquitoes. We're getting into mosquito season. I mean, like crazy. We had.
Yep.
Obviously, we had a very wet spring, which we're going to go back to in a minute. But mosquitoes are going to be coming out in full force this year.
Yeah, and we want to ask people to, look for any kind of standing water. And I know what's hard is look up into your gutters, make sure there's no standing water in your gutters, because that's where a lot of it is coming from.
And what can we do if we do have standing water? I mean, you can't redo your gutters all the time.
No,
is there something else we can do?
Well, you can make sure that they do drain. I mean, if they're ponding because of dirt and debris in there, get rid of the dirt and debris.
Right, but there still might be ponding a little bit. What else can you do?
And if there's ponding, you can go down to any a hardware store, and they've got these pellets that you can put in standing water that will, it's a larvicide type product that will kill the eggs of mosquitoes and prevent them from hatching.
So if somebody's really careful looking around and looking for old tires or whatever, and they've eliminated everything, probably one last place is the gutters. And
Yep.
what do you think the percentage of mosquitoes breeding in gutters
Oh,
is?
probably 40 to 60%. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and they have to remember too, when we mosquito fog, and we do the whole city within about a week's period, but the thing, or a month's period. But you got to remember is that that mosquito fogging doesn't quite get to the very back of your backyard.
Right.
I mean, it'll take care of the front yard maybe, but you know it's tough to get into the backyards, and so yeah, the residents still need to do their part.
When the ground's firm enough, I guess we have permission from the school districts to fog in the schools.
Yes, in some areas
Yeah.
we do, and we do the parks on weekends so people can enjoy our parks. And
But we can't do it if the ground's too soft.
right,
Right.
right.
Then another thing is pets and dangerous dogs, and we tightened up our dangerous dog laws, and at a tremendous amount of public pressure, we allow pit bulls now, but we require them to be spayed and neutered. Let's go
Right.
over some of those things, Lou.
Okay, well, just a reminder for everybody, all dogs and cats need to be registered with the city. They got to have all their inoculations up to date, rabies shots, whatever, and they have to have a city tag. Now, city tag is good for 3 years and it's free. And the benefit of that is if your dog or cat gets loose, we find it, we'll give you a courtesy call to come and get it. And but if it keeps getting loose, then we're going to have a chat with you that no, we don't want dogs and cats running at large. But yes, the pit bulls now are allowed. We just the ordinance requirement is that they needed to be spayed and neutered, and that would help to bring down their aggressive nature a little bit, and that was the main reason for that. But again, now we're getting into the real hot season, hot weather, and so if you routinely leave your dog or cat outside, make sure they got food and water and shade, because it's going to be important.
And we had, because of the illegal nature of pit bulls at the time, we had a lot of people that just didn't register them.
Right.
So we really, and we've gotten help from the the dog owners community to help us try to encourage people to get their pets registered.
Right.
And
the social
licensed.
media really helped out there.
Yeah. So we need to have every pet, every dog and cat in the city needs to be licensed. And if there's other kind of, some people also have some agricultural hobby with chickens and rabbits and things like
Correct.
that. And they have to get a permit from the city council.
Right, those are special animals that require approval from the city. We make sure that the environment you're going to have them in the yard is going to be appropriate. It's not going to be underneath somebody else's bedroom,
Right.
and they're going to have all the food and shelter they need. Any other thing too to remember is you can adopt animals down at the city kennel down at St.
Right.
Ferdinand Park. So, and that's a good option. Our dog came from there and is doing a real good job.
Back to asphalt, concrete, stuff like that. Sidewalk repair and replacement, that usually takes place a little bit later in the summer, I believe.
Right, right. People are out walking in the spring of the year. They'll call in places that have trip hazards, and we get it on the list, and then we try and take them toward the end of summer, first part of fall.
And they should just call 839-7643 or city
That'd be
engineer
good. Yep.
to report an uneven concrete surface. And a lot of
Yes.
times we'll either bust it out and replace it, but lately we've actually done something, another process where we actually grind the edge down
We grind it down.
and make a nice surface out of it, much less, in many cases, it's much less
It's
costly.
less costly.
And much faster, and looks better than disrupting everything.
Right. Doesn't tear up your yard, and it just works better.
So we got that.
Yep.
Then also the street lights.
Street lights. Yeah. Our budget for street lights is like $550 some odd thousand a year, and we get to pay for those lights if they're working or not. And so we want them to be working. So that's everybody's homework. I mean, you see a street light that's out, make sure you get it reported to the city, because we'll make sure Ameren UE. Now we've got a guy that goes out twice a month in the evenings, and he'll ride the streets and he'll find the ones. So we're actively doing that also. We ask our police officers to do the same whenever they see one that are out, report it. But that's a constant maintenance.
And from time to time, we get requests from council members to add to our streetlight inventory, which we occasionally do after due diligence.
Right. And there again, it's for public health and safety, helps in crime prevention. So you know, we definitely want to keep up all our streetlights.
I'll just depart for a second, and on behalf of Chief Lowry and myself, we still encourage people to leave your porch light on at
Yes.
night, because the more illumination we have in our city, the less crime we'll have. It's just
That's right.
a proven fact. You can see where the school districts, all their buildings are a lot more lit up than they used to be. All of our buildings are lit up. We just lit up City Hall with an extensive overhaul of the lighting around City Hall about 3 years ago.
3 or 4 years ago, yeah.
And it's just the way we are in our society today.
We
just
trim
need-
the trees around them
Right.
to make sure that the light
Right.
gets spread. Yeah.
So we have a bunch of other stuff that you guys do, property maintenance programs. As I said, code enforcement is a big deal. So let's talk about code enforcement and all the permits and all the crime-free ordinance that the council recently passed, and has been very successful with our real estate rental industry to attract good, wholesome renters that will be good citizens and also good renters for the investors that invest in property in our city.
Yeah, there again, back in 2016, the voters passed Proposition R, which is charging $50 per rental unit for rental properties, because rental properties in the city of Florissant has really increased over the years. I mean, we've always done our occupancy inspections whenever there's a change of occupants. We've always done an occupancy permit for the ones that are occupying. Those are two separate permits. We want to know who owns the property, we want them to maintain it, keep it up to date, and then we want to know who's in the property so we can contact them if there's any kind of code issues or problems. And the police, when they're out and about, they have access to our database, so they know who's in there. So it helps them. We got our exterior drive-by programs. We got vacant property registration. That was another Prop A that was passed in 2016. And any property that's going to be vacant for over 6 months, for whatever reason, $200, and it's a one-time fee, and they get it registered, and so we can track vacant properties. Now, if you have vacant properties with code violations, it's our very unpopular 245 program, where you're going to get inspected every 6 months. It's going to cost you $200 every 6 months, plus $45 fee for us to keep track of your derelict vacant property. So that's another one. Dangerous buildings. We got a dangerous building program where if vacant property gets to the point where, well, it could have been a fire or some kind of roof damage caused a lot of water damage on the inside, and now it's a dangerous because it's structurally unsound, or it's got insect infestation or unhealthy environment because of excessive mold, we'll tear down a structure. So that's another program. And then we also got an abandoned property and a property acquisition program with St. Louis County. So people walk away from a house and they go in arrears 3 years in a row on their real estate taxes. We'll have the opportunity to get that property, have the title, get a collector's deed transferred over to the city, so the city has ownership. And so then we can do something with that property rather than let it sit and drag down the neighborhood. But all of this is really geared toward maintaining property values throughout the city. And there's a lot of different programs, and I don't know of any other city that does as much as we do. But the residential renter is the newest one. Again, Prop R back in 2016. We have this crime-free certification aspect to that, which basically it just helps the property owner to be a good landlord. You know, these are the things we want you to do as far as maintaining your property and making it safe for police. If they drive by, they can see the bushes are trimmed down, that type of thing. And then also what to put in your contract with your lease contract. That, you know, basically they're not supposed to be able to violate any codes of the city or state or the federal government. That's a violation of their lease agreement, and you can evict them for that. So we're trying to educate through this crime-free certification program how to be a better landlord. And we're starting to get pretty good reception from the landlords. A lot of them resisted right off the bat because it's just another pain that they got to go through. But they're starting to see the benefit.
We actually got compliments when they were
Yes.
paying their fee this past January.
Yeah, the last crime-free seminar we had, they actually clapped for us. They thought it was a pretty good presentation.
Yeah, that's really good. Well, our intention was never to make it harder to do business. Our intention was to try to make all the boats rise in the harbor.
Right.
You know,
Right.
both the people that own their own home and people that we appreciate people that invest in property. We appreciate them investing in a vacant home that maybe a retired couple doesn't live in any longer, and now they fix it up and modernize it and rent it out to someone.
Right.
A good, wholesome member of our community. That's all good.
Right, and we don't want anybody to misconstrue that we treat rental people as second-class citizens. I mean, they want to live in a good community too. They want to live in a nice house, and they want to live in a nice community, and we're providing that.
And some people would prefer, not to take the risk of property ownership. And
right.
I have a brother-in-law that's a very successful individual, and he's always rented, just never learned to own.
Right. Right.
Now we did have an event, the second event in too short of a time. Maybe the climate's changing. It's starting to feel a little bit like living in New Orleans around here. It's been wet for 2 years, maybe longer.
Yeah.
And we had a second major flooding event locally. The region had a flooding event, and then we also were affected locally. We're not always affected locally when the region gets affected, but sometimes we're affected and the region isn't. But this time the region and our area was affected by saturating rains, which raised the water table, and water inadvertently gets into the sanitary sewer system. And we've been talking with MSD. We've had several meetings with them. We had a meeting they came to our last council meeting. They are looking for solutions, viable solutions, and including backflow preventers and sump pumps and everything else. Looking for all the feasible alternatives that we can with MSD. It's still a work in progress. But we had a storm in December of 2015, and then another one last spring. These storms made basements flood that never flooded in 50 years before that.
Right. You had water in your basement. I had water in mine. Right. Yeah. We know the problem.
MSD is looking for. They have some assets that they're going to allocate towards this problem. They have a consent decree that requires them to prevent stormwater from getting into the sanitary sewer lines.
That consent, that federal mandated consent decree is going to cost MSD $4.7 billion with a capital B, and they've got X number of years to get all that work done. And so and the thing is, MSD is actually been one of the City of Florissant's best corporate partners. Right now, they have been spending millions of dollars every year in the city. Right now, they have a little over $39 million in 13 different projects throughout the area that will directly affect the City of Florissant. So they know the problem. They're not shying away from it, and they're coming up with ideas to help us maybe what we can do to correct the problem. Unfortunately, EPA had done a study, and they found that about 40% of the stormwater infiltration into a sanitary sewer line comes from the private lines of the residents and basically the house lateral. And that's the thing. EPA says you can't just increase the size of your pipe. You got to separate the storm from the sanitary. So telling MSD to just increase the pipe, they can't do it. They legally just can't do it. So they've got to get the water out of the sanitary, and that's what they're working on right now.
And it was impressive that the executive director of the Metropolitan Sewer District, Brian Holscher, attended our city council meeting. He stepped right into the breach and took the bull by the horns. And they're going to have 3 meetings. We have 3 major areas of the city that are affected, and they're going to have a separate meeting for each of those areas at a soon-to-be-determined location and date.
Correct. Right. Yeah, well, I was very impressed with that also. I mean, his district is large, something like 500 and some odd square miles and millions of people. The area that MSD has to take care of is just, and for him to come up to the city of Florissant, I've met with him 3 times. He's been up to the city twice, and to spend that much time, the executive director of MSD spend that much time, and then bring in 3 and 4 members of his staff. basically, it's due to the mayor's and mine's relationship with Brian Holzer, either through the Engineers Club or just over the years dealing with different MSD projects.
It's been very helpful. I also want to recognize that we have a very proactive city council that has been involved in a number of different things. A lot of them have been public works related, code enforcement related, stormwater related, or whatever. We try to use the strengths of each and every council members. They all come from different backgrounds and they all have different perspectives on things, and we try to use their strengths to the city's advantage. Not to cross the line between legislative and administrative, but to try to use council subcommittees to help us to determine how best to use city resources for the benefit of our citizens. So we want to give a shout out to the city council. They've done an outstanding job on the crime-free. Councilman Jones and Councilwoman, Council President Jackie Pagano were very, very involved in that project. We have other council members that help us. Joe Egan is a police officer for Maryland Heights, so anytime there's something that would benefit our police department, Joe is kind of our liaison to the city council. We have everybody from aeronautical engineer and Tommy Siam, and we have an attorney now with Robert Parsons, our newest council member, and so we just have several members of the trades, and we have a retired collector of revenue from St. Louis County who helps us Tim Lee, with a lot of different research on revenue issues, which comes in very handy. Councilman Hankes comes from 4 generations of people living in Florissant, has a great feel for what's important to the people of Old Town and to the town in general. Jeff Caputa is in the trades. Anytime there's a discussion on concrete is real helpful. Keith Shildroth works for the collector's office. He actually wrote a book on the Cardinals. Oh yeah. So maybe we can get some tickets from Keith.
We should. We should. Yeah. We're promoting his book, aren't we? We should get something.
But no, we have a very dedicated city council, and we rely on their input especially on public works. It seems like they're really interested.
They've gotten behind public works very well over the years, so very thankful for that.
Right. Anything else that we didn't cover, Lou, that you can think of?
No, I think we're good.
All right. So once again, we've been meeting with our Public Works Director, Lou Jearls, graduate from Missouri University of Science and Technology, formerly known as University of Missouri at Rolla.
As opposed to the Mines and Metallurgy when you went?
I didn't go to, no, I was, they had just changed from MSM to UMR.
Wasn't that long ago, okay.
But so it was MSM, UMR, now it's MUST.
MUST.
M-U-S-T. Anyway, thanks, Lou, for visiting with us today.
You're welcome, Mayor. Thank you.
Looking forward to working with you.
Thank you.
All right.